Hello, this is Louie Simmons, and this is a revised version of the Westside Barbell Secrets tape for bench pressing. When I made the first tape a few years back, we had 7 people that could bench 500 pounds and no 600-pound benchers. Now we have developed 34 people officially have benched 500 pounds or more. We have 14 that have done 551, 7 that have benched 600 pounds. As of today, I'm the only man 50 years old ever to officially bench 600 pounds, and I'm not a bench press specialist. Plus, with Kenny Patterson's 728-pound bench. We have a lot of girls that's been sensational benchers over the years. The reason I'm revising this tape, we're doing several new exercises. For instance, in the first tape, our average training weight for the speed day was 72%. Now we've dropped it down to an average of 55%. We are now trying to contribute better to the relationship between force and velocity. In the tapes before, we never dreamed of using chains or bands or stability balls. Now we're doing this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to lead into a speed workout with some assistant exercises later. From then on out, we're going to move into the spatial exercises. I'm going to demonstrate how to use bands and chains and stability balls and all the spatial exercises that go with it. Remember, folks, on the speed workout, we're going to do that. This is will be done on always Sundays. And all the other workouts are done on Wednesdays. The speed workout is known as the dynamic method with sub-maximal weights performed on Sundays here at Westside Barbell. 3 days later, or Wednesday, are the max effort days. So I'm going to lead into a speed workout when you're going to see how fast this barbell should move and was the short rest periods that they use very short rest periods. And normally 8 to 10 sets of triples. And from them, we're going to move into all the major bar exercises or the max effort exercises. And then I'll finish up the tape with the exercises for the triceps and delts and lats and upper back and so forth. All right, folks, well, let's get ready and let's take a look at this speed workout.
Yep, let's go.
Yep. Got it. Get.
George, you use the 65 for you?
Come on, George.
Tight, baby, tight. Go, George, strong.
Go, George. Get. Got it. Come on. Right here.
Come on, man, let's go to work. Go, JP.
Come on, JP.
Come on, let's work. Come on, Kenny.
Come on.
We got 2 weeks, man. Come on.
Come on, Kenny.
Come on, man, let's work.
Let's go, Kenny.
Come on, Kenny. Let's go.
Come on, Kenny. I'm going hard.
Let's go.
Hard.
Let's go.
Easy.
Come on, Kenny. Right there. Come on, George. Let's go. Let's go.
Come on, G.
Come on.
Come on, buddy.
Let's go, finish strong.
Last one, let's go.
Yep, come
Good,
on.
guys. There you go. Come on. Nice, good. Get it. Yes.
Come on, kid, that's it. Come on, kid, let's work. Come on, kid. Come on, let's work. Come on, kid, let's work.
Step in.
Come on, kid. Come on, go. Speed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hit it.
Yeah. Come on.
Get it. All right, folks, what you just witnessed was a pretty extraordinary workout. For one, that was George Howard, the 220-pound world record holder. George, this year, March 7th, at the Arnold Classic, been 657 pounds. You notice when he did his sets, he did 4 sets with 315 and 4 with 365. George will be moving up to the 242s later on this year, and he's going to try to establish a world record in the 242s. And that was Kenny Patterson, another world record holder, 728 pounds in the 275-pound class. You notice Kenny used 365 pounds for the first 4 sets and 405 for his last 4. Both lifters are very, very explosive. They both have very good form. After their, for the sake of the time on the tape, after they did their benching, they both did tricep extensions with dumbbells. Kenny did 6 sets of 10. Kenny uses 110 and sometimes 125-pound dumbbells. And George uses around 80 to 100-pound dumbbells. George's rest time is slightly faster than Kenny's. After that, they did some front plate raise, side delt raise, upper back, and a little bit of lat work, 4 or 5 sets, and they finished it off with some hammer curls. That concluded that workout. Now, again, this workout is done on Sunday. Every Sunday, the weight is basically the same, 55% of your 1 rep contest max, give or take 2.5%. Most people should be under, because speed is very important here. You have to have we're trying to match the force velocity curve with this weight. It's been experienced and proven with Ziff and Van Forshinsky on a force plate machine that 154 pounds with maximum acceleration equal 264 pounds. That, my friends, is 58%. That's why we basically train at these light percents on one day for explosive strength and acceleration. Now we're going to demonstrate form. A lot of people wonder what good form is. Where the bar belongs on your chest, for instance. Well, should you use the thumb or thumbless grip? Well, we're going to bring Kenny in here and demonstrate, and we'll talk about just those matters right now. Now, Kenny normally benches with a thumb grip. So he'll bench first with a thumb grip. When you use the thumb, it utilizes a lot of chest and shoulder muscles. Notice Kenny's elbows are tucked in fairly good. When his bar is on his chest, his forearm is straight up and down. That way he utilizes his chest, shoulders, and pecs equally. He also presses the bar in as straight a line as possible to shoulder distance, also resulting with no shoulder rotation, and he has less chance of a shoulder injury. Now Kenny's going to do a thumbless grip. Alright, now when you use a thumbless grip, it's more tricep and lat. Now Kenny has very stocky hands, and even though he has strong triceps, he has to use the other grip, but this grip is ideal for a strong tricep lat bencher. But the fear of the drop in the bar on Kenny's hands is pretty high. Kenny's going to show you the 3 grips. We normally move our grips around. The widest grip is the little finger on the ring. He'll do that grip for a set, and then he'll move in 2 inches. And then the 3rd grip, normally he'll move in to where his index finger's touching it smooth, or a person Kenny's size about 1 inch out from that. All right, now we're going to move into also the feet. Notice Kenny's feet are well planted, and Kenny picked himself up one time. Now this is how Kenny benches. He'll pick himself up, and what he does, he picks himself up like a chin, sets himself down on his upper back, and by that, all the weight is supported by his upper back muscles. Don't worry so much about this lower back arch. All you're going to do is get cramps and back injuries. Up here's where the bar lands. This is what's most important. Now we're going to move into the contrast method. By that, we're going to show you how we use chains, bands, and weight releasers. All right, we'll set the chains up. Now you notice here when Kenny lowers the barbell, the chain deloads onto the ground. And as he presses the weight back up, it reloads. What it does, we're accommodating resistance here. So just a couple reps. Watch the chains. First they're deloaded, then reloaded. For people who bench press under 400 pounds in a contest, normally one chain is enough. These are 5/8 length chain, and they weigh 20 pounds a set. When bench pressing, only half comes off, so you're locking out 20. For people that bench 500, you may want to go with a chain, a 5/8 chain, and a 3/8. A 3/8 chain weighs 23 pounds a pair. As you get into the 550 and move into the 6 range, then you could possibly do 2 sets or 4 sets of benches with 1 set of chain and 4 sets with 2 sets of 5/8 chains, so you're locking out an additional 40. Now, you notice here, folks, what we have a 1/4 inch chain. These chains are 6 1/2 foot long, and with a hook. This hook right here regulates the length of the chain. We have a 3/4 inch metal ring, which we place a 5/8 chain through. That way the chains don't move around very much. This is ideal for squatting and benching with this chain length the same, although the chains, you'll notice on my squat tape, are placed on much differently. Now we're going to demonstrate bands. The bands work similar, except they cause a great deal of kinetic energy. Well, for explosive strength and reversal strength, and a bench press requires that. When a man lowers the barbell down, he must raise it. Remember, by using these bands, it's going to propel the barbell quicker. An object that is lowered quicker will build kinetic energy, not necessarily a heavy object. And when a person pauses, an object that's not in motion tends to stay that way. It will not build explosive strength, my friends. You're basically building static strength only at the chest level. Now, Kenny's going to do a set. Watch the tension. Now, folks, I'm going to tighten up the tension. Watch how we do this. We've added about 20 pounds of tension by doing this here. You merely pull it out, wrap it around the sleeve, and back over. These bands cause an amazing amount of eccentric work, which makes you very, very large and very, very strong. It also makes you very explosive by the fact it's pulling you down, and then you have to reverse it. All right, now we're going to take off the bands and put weight releasers on. The weight releaser was invented in the Soviet Union. They were commonly known as weight strippers, and in the Soviet Union they do a lot of slow lowering with 80% under 1 rep max. And then with an additional 20%, so with the weight releasers included, so when they press the bar or squat the bar back up, they're raising up 60. Now these weight releasers are set high. This would be a lot of work for the lockout. Basically, because of the bench shirt propels the bar up 2/3 of the way, then the triceps have to take over. Normally, see, we would have weights on here. Maybe Kenny, for instance, would use maybe 150 pounds. And he would lower that bar down. It builds a tremendous amount of tricep strength. What this is definitely a contrast movement, because the one weight is varied tremendously when those weight releases are taken off the bar. We're going to move into maximum effort work here. First, we're going to show the board press. Now, the board press is a lot different than racks. When you do a rack panel, we'll demonstrate later, the bar, the only tension you have is through your hands. But when you do a board press with the board on your chest, when the bar is on the boards, the weight is transferred into your chest, shoulders, and arms. Now we're going to demonstrate 3 different board heights. This is for your longer arm lifters. Kenny would never use 4 boards. Notice he lets it sink in a little bit, and then with an explosive movement drives the bar back up. That's 4 2x6s nailed together. Now we have 3 2x6s now together. We'll have records on all these different boards. With a close grip, Kenny's done 665 all 3 boards. Now we're down to 2. Kenny normally uses 3 and 2, as with myself. Now Kenny's record here is 670. Notice he's taking his grip out and sliding him out with the lower board. Now we normally will do board press for 2 weeks. Now a guy will do 4 boards in 3 or 3 boards in 2. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move in to another exercise called illegal wides. Here Kenny's going to use about 1 inch wider than normal grip, and he will try a 6 rep max. In other words, if Kenny's best is 500 for 6, he would come in, warm up, and try 505 or 510. He would do this for 2 weeks, and we move on to another exercise. Not to confuse you people, remember board pressing for 2 weeks. Now 3 and 4 weeks we might be into the illegal wide. Always keep the elbows tucked. This took Billy Masters' bench press from 523 pounds, where he was stuck for a year and a half, to 584 in around 16 weeks. By doing this illegal wide. There's an exercise out there, folks, that will just put 50 pounds on your bench. All you have to do is find it. The key is to find 2 or 3. We're going to show you several. Now we're going to do the floor press. Now with the floor press, Kenny's going to lower the bar down, actually relax his arms, and then with a very explosive dynamic effort, press the weight back up. Now, as Kenny was doing this, you notice he used his little finger on the ring. That is 1 grip record. His second record, he will put the joint of his thumbs on the smooth part of the bar. That'll establish his second record. Again, so just remember this. You can possibly do board press for the first 2 weeks, floor press for the next 2 weeks, illegal wides for the next 2 weeks. I really highly recommend doing repetition work every 5th and 6th week. Either illegal wides for a 6 rep max, or heavy dumbbells for either 3 sets to failure, or particularly if you like to maybe do heavy dumbbells with 3 sets to 15 or something. Now folks, we do a lot of heavy chains on the floor press sometimes. This is how you hook the chains up for the floor press. Instead of using a small chain, you merely drop these heavy chains over. Now, George Halbert normally works out with 200-pound chain, and his best thing was 445 pounds of bar weight plus 200-pound of chain. And George normally takes a weight or 2 above that, even if he misses. Don't worry about missing. This is the max effort work. But what you're doing here is you're doing functional isometrics in its purest form, working the greatest, finding your mini-max. Now we're going to demonstrate lockouts here in the power rack. Now you notice my power racks have a hole every inch. This is the way all power racks should be. At least no more than 2 inch. If you do, you have to put a 1-inch board underneath your bench to raise it up or down. But Kenny's going to demonstrate the power rack lockout. We never lower the weights because that eccentric lowering causes too much muscle soreness. There's no need to have that when all the heavy training we do as it is. He will normally take a weight off one particular pin and either lower it or raise it the next week. And then he has records on all different pins. He normally uses about 5 pin spacings here. All right, but what we're going to do here, we're going to demonstrate, he's just going to press off a pin, show you how we do our rack lockouts. Just raising, never lowering. Then we're going to raise the bar up and demonstrate a seated press. Now Kenny does about 6 out of 10 workouts. After he does the rack lockout, he'll follow it up with a seated overhead press. Many of our lifters have found this very effective for tricep and anterior delt development. All right, now Kenny will demonstrate. Notice we use a close grip. I recommend mostly close grips, much safer. All right, now again, if Kenny pressed off this pin, next week he would either raise the pin one hole or lower one hole. He has records for all these different holes, and what he does, he warms up efficiently, very efficiently. We normally warm up with the bar, then 95, 135, and so on. He would warm up and try to establish a new record. Friends, do not be afraid to fail. This is called maximum effort work. That means put out maximum effort. It doesn't matter if you fail or not. As long as the muscles are under tension for a long period of time, you will build absolute strength. With our first day for explosive and accelerating strength, matched with this day, which is Wednesday, always on Wednesday, we do max effort work, and both days, an amazing amount of work for the tris, upper back, delts, lats, and forearms. That's how we manage to have a long periodization cycle where we never really go from one conditioning to a contest phase. We have it all, and we just continuously on a slow movement. It's known as an Olympic cycle or a 4-year cycle. Continuously get stronger and stronger and reach our work capacities. Now we're going to raise the bar up and show you how we do the overhead press. Now you notice, folks, we always use the back support, as you can see here. Also, this overhead press is a limited motion. It's tremendous. Kenny has done, how much your best on this, Kenny?
Over 600 pounds.
Over 600 pounds on this overhead lockout. You notice the tricep heads are heavily involved as far as well as the anterior delt. All right, now we're going to move into a cambered bar. We're going to show you how we use the cambered bar because most of our fellows like Kenny are very, very thick. As I've mentioned before, we have 7 people here that can bench at least 600 pounds, plus Kenny at 728. And they're too thick to use a full-size camber, so what we're going to show you is how we match that by using 2x6s. Now, like I said, we're going to move into the camber bar, and what we do here, because the camber bar with the 5-inch camber is too severe for us, we use 2 2x6s, which in reality is about 3.5 inches. So what Kenny's going to do, well, I'm going to place this on Kenny's chest. He'll be getting 1.5 inches deeper press than normal. All right, now let us demonstrate. Now, a few people may be able to go down to 1 2x6. That depends on you, but for God's sake, don't overstretch. I remember years ago when I could only bench about 300, I had no trouble with this McDonald bar. It was actually invented for Mike McDonald, who was a tremendous bencher in his 70s. And with this camber, it made him very, very strong. But it's too severe for most people. Well, also what we do, folks, remember, anything we do, we almost invariably will use a lot of chain or band tension with it as well. All right, now we're going to move into the simple incline-decline press. All right, folks, now we're going to demonstrate the decline. Now, this is a mild decline. Kenny's going to get in here and do a few reps. So, first of all, let's get him in here and do this. This overloads the anterior delt and the upper chest muscles. And always work to a max single, folks. Notice Kenny uses a close grip, and it's actually fairly hard for him to get down to his chest. Now when we use extremely steep inclines as well, actually that's our most favorite, almost standing straight up and down. And with Kenny's, it requires about 275 pounds to actually come down and touch Kenny's, the top of his upper chest, because of the tightness. Now we're going to demonstrate the decline. All right, now we're going to demonstrate the decline. On declines, I recommend not being real steep because you're just going to get a false sense of security where you can handle such heavy weights. This way right here, guys like Kenny and George Haber's done about a little over 600 pounds on this, and both of them can bench press over 600 pounds without a bencher. So we're going to demonstrate this. Again, they're not going to use Kenny won't use a very wide grip. All right, here he comes. Again, folks, this will help teach you how to press the bar in a straight line as well. But this really overloads the triceps in the decline position. Again, work up to a max single. I want to repeat. Do an exercise like the decline for 2 weeks. You may do the floor press for the next 2. Then you do max out dumbbells for the next 2. Every 5th and 6th week, go to either high repetition work with a dumbbell or a barbell for those max 6. Remember, these are 2-week mini cycles. Any exercise you see here after that speed workout is known as the max effort work. 2 weeks and switch, please. Always followed up with a lot of extension work, delt raises and so forth. All right, now we're going to bring in George Halbert and let George demonstrate some dumbbell exercises. All right, folks, now before we get George in here to work with some dumbbells, I want to make sure you understand what Kenny Patterson was doing. You take one of those exercises, that's that core exercise on a max effort day, which for us is Wednesday, speed days on Sunday. You do one of those core exercises for 2 weeks, always followed up with some extensions, which we're going to show later, raises, front, side, rear, upper back work, and lat work. That pretty much takes care of a workout. It normally takes between 50 minutes and 1 hour. So now when George demonstrates the dumbbells, it's the same thing. We normally use the repetition method. By that means we go to failure, and we normally do 3 sets to failure. When you do the repetition method, that means you must take long rest periods. If you have a very explosive body type, you must take 5 or 6 minutes in between sets before you conclude the 3 sets. If not, you won't get any repetitions at all on your second and third set. Always warm up. Biggest dumbbells I use is 155s. I would normally take 30s for 8 or 10, 50s for 8 or 10, 70s for 8 or 10, 100s for 8 or 10, maybe 100 and a quarter for 4 or 5, and then jump to 150s and do the 3 sets, as many as I can get. All right, now let's get George in here and we'll demonstrate these dumbbells. Remember, this is max effort day. Every 5th and 6th week, use high repetition work with the dumbbells, or remember the illegal wide benching for 6 reps, 2 weeks each. All right, folks, come on, George, let's go. All right, folks, so this is George Halbert. You saw him on the speed day. In March of '98, George benched 657 pounds in the 220-pound class. That's the world record. We hold 3 of the 12 open world records. So now George is going to demonstrate some dumbbell work. He does quite an extensive amount of dumbbell work during his season. So right now, the first thing we're going to do is demonstrate flat dumbbell presses. Notice his elbow positions, always in. Do not keep the elbows out. This utilizes the front delt and the triceps to a great extent. All right, now next we're going to demonstrate some seated press. A lot of times, you notice that when we use the barbell, we use the back support. Sometimes 2 guys will put their backs together when we do seated press. Sometimes use the back support with the dumbbells, and sometimes no back support. Jesse Kellum is one that never uses the back support. He thinks it works your upper back muscles more, which I'm sure it does. But if you have a fragile lower back, always use the back support. Now George will demonstrate a few seated press. All right, now next we're going to demonstrate the floor press. Notice when George's arms are on the floor, he actually relaxes them and then with a violent contraction drives the dumbbells back up. Much like the floor press with the barbell, but this is just another variation. And remember folks, 2 weeks on dumbbells and move into a barbell exercise. Again, notice George's arm position. By doing with this position angle, his lats are heavily involved as well as the triceps and delts. All right, so in other words, you would do floor press for a couple weeks, and then you may do an incline barbell, the next week board press, and then after 2 weeks each on those, you're back into a dumbbell exercise or the ultra wide grips. Now George is going to do some inclines. Again, folks, watch the elbow position. He literally shoves the weights. This will teach you to use your entire body, and that's important if you want to get a big bench. Now onto the decline, the same way. Naturally, the incline works the upper pec and quite a bit more than the decline. The decline is going to work the lower pecs, but it also seems to work the triceps fairly heavy. Notice it's a complete body movement here. You're not trying to build a physique. You're trying to build some tremendous strength. And again, when you do exercises like this, normally we use the repetition method, 3 sets to failure, or sometimes George likes to pick a dumbbell weight, and we'll do 3 sets of 15. Much has been talked about the stability ball. By using this ball, you work muscles that you never touch by lying on a normal bench or the floor. You have to control yourself in 4 different directions. It's much like pressing out of water. These balls hold 2,500 pounds. These are heavy-duty balls. Don't try this with the beach ball, folks. All right, now George is going to do some seated press here. This takes tremendous amount of effort to do any type of heavy weights on this. He has to keep himself very, very stable with the small muscle groups and able for his large muscle groups to do the work. All right, now what we're going to do, we're going to move into a specific exercise we do that builds a tremendous amount of muscle mass as well as strength. It is push-ups, much the same way a male gymnast would do them on the rings. Yuri, a champion gymnast of the Olympics, known as the King of the Rings, his friend Mario sent me this information, and we've been trying it with some tremendous success. So let's move over to the push-ups on the rings. All right, now George is going to demonstrate some of these push-ups. Notice these rings move all around. You'll see how very unstable this apparatus is. This builds some tremendous strength by just holding yourself in there. Normally George will use a weight 120, 150 pounds on his back for 3 sets of 10 or 12 reps after he warms up. Now first he's going to do it with his feet on the floor. With that angle, it works a lot of the lower pec and delts in a certain way, and later we'll do a set with the feet elevated, where it works the upper pecs, much like an incline press. Notice the action of the rings. This will make you armor plated, folks. Now, George is going to raise his feet, and by raising the feet, more of the work goes on to the upper pecs and the top of the shoulders. We actually many times do some of our feet, almost like handstand push-ups. All that blood is running into the upper body. These are well worth it, folks. They don't cost very much money. You need to invest in a set of these. All you have to do is look at world-class gymnasts and check out their physiques, or just check out George's bench press. All right, now we're going to move into some tricep work. All right, folks, now we're going to move to tricep work. In our opinion, tricep work is the most important. After we do our speed benching, the first thing we do is pick a tricep exercise. We either use the JM press, a straight bar extension to the chin, the forehead, or the throat, 2-arm dumbbell extensions on a bench where you have continuous muscle tension, or sometimes we'll do the 2-arm dumbbell extensions on the floor, which George will demonstrate later, where the bars actually stop, relax, and then with a muscular contraction driven back up. You break up the eccentric concentric chain when you do it on the floor like that, builds tremendous explosive power in the arms. All right, so first off, George is going to demonstrate the JM press. We named this after J.M. Blakely, no doubt, because J.M. is such a great bencher, 675, which you'll see later in the video. The bar comes down above the nipples, holds it 4 or 5 inches on the chest where the most tension on the triceps is, then muscles straight back up. This is basically 95% arms. If you feel your chest and pecs, then it's too heavy. All right, now we're going, now normally we use this exercise on max effort day as well. I work up to 3 or 5 rep sets and keep records on it. I use a couple different grips, my fingers, index fingers touching the smooth or maybe 2 inches out, and I got a 3 and a 5 rep record. That's what you need, lots of variation. Now George is going to demonstrate a tricep extension to the chin. You can also do these to the forehead or the throat. Again, work up, you warm up considerably, then work up in heavy sets of 5. All right, now next, we're going to demonstrate 2-arm dumbbell extensions. Notice how George will roll these dumbbells back. When he does, it puts the tension on the inside triceps around the elbow. Those are the elbow extensors, and that's where the bench press comes from. Notice he drops them, the bell will hit the top of the shoulder, then he rolls it back, notice how large George is here. Here's your bench, folks. Not all this, but there's most important. And then straight up. When he doesn't drop his elbows very much, just a little bit to start it. All right, now we're going to do the 2-arm dumbbell on the floor. Now this time, he's actually going to relax his arms with the bells on the floor, just for a split second, and then he'll drive the weights back up. George, commonly we use over 100-pound dumbbells for these exercises, the extensions. Notice the difference, folks? The first dumbbell extensions on the bench was constant muscle tension. This one, the muscles are actually relaxed for a split second. All right, before we go on, we do pushdowns. We will show one pushdown exercise, and that will conclude our triceps. Remember, folks, pick one of these exercises for most people. Either the JM press, do it for 2 or 3 weeks, or as long as you can, as long as it makes progress. Then switch to a straight bar extension or dumbbells. Well, if dumbbells stop to fault and will not make any more progress, then you go to a straight bar extension for the next 3 or 4 weeks, or as long as you can. George normally can do exercises for, 4 or 5 weeks before he switches. And I'm about the same way as far as these facial exercises go. So don't just ditch it to ditch it. Ditch it when it quits working. All right, now we're going to go ahead and do, as far as dumbbell work, your dumbbell work should be somewhere roughly 60 reps. 6 sets of 10, 10 sets of 6, 7 sets of 8, something in that vicinity. And all the barbell exercises, you want to work up in 5s or with extensions for the most part, and work up to heavy weights. And then on the JM press, 3 or 5 rep record. Now JM's done around 530 for 3, and give you an idea how strong his arms are. All right, now we're going to go ahead and move on to the pushdowns. All right, folks, now we're going to do some tricep exercises. George has got a bar here, it's curved. There are lots of bars. Every gym's got 100 bars, so it doesn't matter which ones you use. Just pick your own bars. J.M. Blakely uses a real thick pipe bar. So that's all up to you. And George is going to just change his hand position 2 or 3 times, show you a few pushdowns here. Always use good form. Now, I want to make one point. George and myself and a few people, when they do their heavy extensions or JMs, They will do a set of light pushdowns for 10 to 15 reps. Then they move on into the straight bar extension for triples, and then back to the pushdown for lightweight, and then add weight to the extension and move on like that. All right, now George will demonstrate the extension. Notice now he's going to use a wide grip, pull the elbows in. And one more grip. Okay, folks, now we showed you quite a bit of tricep exercises. Just remember, on the bars, when one starts to fail with you after 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, you just move to another one. Same thing with the dumbbells. When the dumbbells on the floor seem like they won't make you any stronger, you possibly could go to a straight bar. When the straight bar stops, you get dumbbells on a bench. When the dumbbells on the bench, go to JM press. And for you more advanced people, if you want to make your arms a little bigger and quite a bit stronger, do a set of light extensions, always with the same weight, 10 to 15 reps, and a set of pushdowns, and then a set of bar extensions with heavy weight. And just jump your weights up. My best doing this by using just 3 plates on this machine, which all machines are different. But I did 135 for 5, 185 for 5, 205 for 5, 2 1/4 for 5, 250 for 5, 75 for 5, 295 for 5, and 315 for 5, which is my best, by supersetting with this bar. All right, folks? So hopefully, now what we're going to do is we're going to move into shoulder raises next and show you how we do most of our shoulder work. Thank you. All right, folks, now we're going to move into shoulder work. Shoulders are pretty important in the bench press. Although we press in straight lines, you still have to have very, very strong shoulders, especially the side delt and the rear delts. A lot of people work the front delts, like the old Jim Williams front raise, which we will do, and we also do in the gym, but you got to concentrate on all shoulder work, especially external work. All right, now this is Rob Fusner. Rob's a 610-pound bencher. He benched 600 pounds in his second meet. Rob is 22 years old. He's going to be a tremendously strong lifter in a couple of years. All right, we're going to demonstrate a few exercises for the shoulder. First is the dumbbell front raise. All right, folks, and this works the anterior delt. When you bench press, your anterior delts are heavily activated. When you do close grip benching, it's the anterior delt as well as the triceps that do the work. It's not always just all tris, because with a closer grip, you actually have more shoulder rotation. Now we're going to show side dumbbell raise. This is for the side of the shoulders. All right, now we're going to demonstrate, Rob's going to do a couple front raises with a barbell. This is just another variation.
Go behind?
Yeah. Just another variation. When you get sick of doing dumbbells, you can go to barbell. When you get sick of the barbell, well, we'll move on into plate raises. Notice you just lift the bar up about even with the chin. That's fine, high enough. Always use weight. Add weight whenever possible. Repetition range here. Now, I normally keep the front raise about 8 to 10 reps. Now, he's also going to do the plate raise. Jim Williams made this thing famous. As you well remember, Jim Williams was bench 675 pounds long before bench shirts in 1972 in the World Championships in York, Pennsylvania. All right, now also on these front raises, if you like to use cable machines where you have constant tension, you can do the same thing, or you can use the jump stretch bands. The jump stretch bands are very therapeutic as well as building strength. All right, now Rob's going to demonstrate the Bradford lift. This lift, you basically press the bar over your head and back and forth. You barely clear the head, always keeping the shoulders activated, keeping the triceps out of it. This will really push up a bench. All right, exercises like this, you know, maybe 5 reps on each side or up to 8 reps on each side. I mean, fellas use 315 pounds here regularly in this exercise. All right, next we're going to show inverted flies. This is for the upper back and rear delts.
Oh, shoot.
See, this really hits this rear delt. You gotta have strong rear delts to protect the front delts. All right, now, Rob is going to demonstrate the same exercise laying down. This is very strenuous, no leverage at all involved here. Always work up heavier and heavier dumbbells, folks. All right, now also, when we're talking about the side delt work, we're going to do a side delt raise, and Rob's going to do it laying on his side. It's popular, a lot of bodybuilders do this laying on the floor with a barbell rest in between each rep. But Rob's just going to do it on the bench here. He'll just perform one side, but naturally do one side and rotate to the other. Here, most folks like to do higher reps, 12 to 15 reps. We're keeping the reps low because of this video time. Okay, now Rob is going to demonstrate another exercise for the front delt and the trapezius, the barbell upright row. You'll notice how the traps will be. You can see the traps bunch up. Also work the anterior delt. There's a couple variations of the arms that will change the most of the stress on the delts or the traps. Okay, folks, that pretty much takes care of shoulder work. Remember, shoulders are very, very important. Matt Dillon used to do a 135-pound plate raise for 6 reps. Matt had extremely strong shoulders. All right, folks, before we get into direct lat work, I want to demonstrate, we do a popular exercise here, dumbbell power cleans. I've only got a set of 25s, but in my bench press workout tape, they only use 25s. But I've used as much as 75-pound dumbbells for 2 sets of 15 working out for a pro bodybuilder. Rob here can use heavy dumbbells, but for just video's sake, we're going to use 25s. But I'm just going to demonstrate. You just crudely pull these up. You'll work your forearms, all the shoulder muscles in the upper back, and traps at the same time. All right? Just like this. Now, folks, when you bench press, all the stuff about arch I read every time in a magazine is a bunch of bull. The lower back don't mean anything. The bar lands here on your chest, opposite of the upper back. It's the upper back that has to be very, very stable. Remember that. Forget that lower back. These huge arches is a bunch of crap. So you got a couple guys with good flexibility, big deal. The biggest benchers in the world are your biggest men. They lay flat as a pancake. So that illustrates the upper back strength. Now Rob's going to demonstrate some one-arm rowing here. We do a lot of this. What you basically do, you go from one lat exercise to another. When one of them starts to fail for you, you merely move into another. All right, now we're going to demonstrate the barbell row. First Rob's going to use a knuckles over grip. This works the lats in general. Now if you want to develop the lower lats, just merely use a curl grip. And this works the lower lats extreme amount. All right, now let's move into the lat machine and demonstrate a few exercises there. All right, now a lat machine is one of the most common machines in a gym. And what you need a lot of the different accessory bars. This bar here, the handles will be, his hands will be palmed in. And that puts a lot of thickness on the lats. Now Rob will demonstrate, we're just going to move right through a few bars. You notice how thick Rob is, and he's going to get a lot thicker in a couple years. Now we're going to go with the V-bar. This again is a thickness bar. This puts a lot of thickness front to back on the lats. You can pull these lat pulls down to different positions. High on the chest, low on the chest. Use a lot of variety, and remember, a lot of different bars. Now if you want lift, like most bodybuilders have, a wide grip. This will put a lot of width on the lats. Now, folks, you notice this bar turns down. This is typical of all lat bars. I want you to pay close attention to the next bar. It's a specialty bar here at Westside. This is for external rotation. Notice the bar is curved up. So this means Rob will be pulling down and pulling the bar outward. Okay, now there's just 4 variations of the lat pulls. We're going to demonstrate now a little bit of upper back work. Here's a little bit more, folks, of variation work for the upper back. Rob's going to do some stand-up pulls to the face. This works the rear delts very, very heavily, which is very, very important if you're going to be a big bencher. I've never seen a big bencher with a small upper back. They all have huge upper backs. This also helps the deadlift, by the way. He's first going to use a bar, then we're going to use a strap. When he uses a strap, he's going to pull apart as hard as he can for external rotation. Everyone is very, very strong pulling their fist across their face. Very, very weak pulling their fist outward. That's why a lot of football teams have a lot of shoulder injuries. Their external rotation is simply terrible. Rob's going to demonstrate first with the bar. Now he's going to use the strap. Remember, now he's definitely going to be pulling it apart as hard as possible. Folks, you can do the same type of exercise with therapeutic bands such as this, that you can buy in almost any sporting goods store. Or the jump stretch people have bands specifically made for shoulder rotation work. But this is just one of their weaker bands, and the same thing, you can just pull it apart, get that external rotation. Watch what your bench does, it'll really jump. All right, now we're going to go ahead and move on down to some chest supported rows. This exercise will really put some thickness on you. All right, folks, now this is one of George Halbert's favorite exercises, as well as Chuck Vogel pulls, but we all do this as a chest supported row. Every gym, I'm supposed, has a chest supported row in it. So Rob's going to jump on here and do a few reps for you. This really packs the thickness on. Heavy weights should be employed. Now you notice it has 2 handles, a straight handle and a curved back handle. So always change the handles, always use different weights, change your repetitions. Now, last but not least, we're going to go to an exercise that we use with bands that helps people learn to lower heavy weights in bench shirts. When you use a bench shirt, you must actually pull the bar down your chest. After all, folks, that's why people do rows. A row is the opposite of a bench press. So now we're going to demonstrate the special exercise we do here. This has really helped us maximize the use of a bench shirt. All right, as promised, you'll notice that we used a heavy-duty jump stretch bands with a regular barbell. Rob's going to lay down and actually pull this bar down onto his chest. As we want, we just loop the bands, make it tougher and tougher to pull down, but it teaches you to pull a bar down to your chest. The faster bar comes down, the quicker it will go up. Folks, don't worry about the pause portion of the lift, because the energy from lowering a barbell is kinetic. It is stored in the muscles and will sustain itself up to 2 seconds. That's why explosive lifts is possible even with applause, all right? Rob will demonstrate here. And see, as those weights get heavy, it's just like a bench shirt. Don't waste that energy, folks. Fight the bar down. When you go to a contest, you may hear our guys yell all the time, get it down, get it down, get it down. That's exactly what we mean. Get that bar down on your chest. Faster down, the faster to go up. All right, well, that pretty much concludes all the exercises in this tape. Now we're going to go into a segment I want to summarize, the speed day and the max effort day, all right? All right, folks. Now let's look back at what we've accomplished here. Remember, speed day, or the dynamic method, is always performed on Sunday. It's 8 to 10 sets of benches, very, very explosively, with moderately close to close grips. Remember, speed is the key. Train the bench roughly around 55%. I did my 600-pound bench, for instance. I did 4 doubles 2 weeks before the meet with 305 and 4 with 325. My normal training up to that, though, was 4 with 285 and 4 with 305. I always use chain. I use one set of chain where I lock out an extra 20 pounds, and then for the first 4 sets, on the last 4 sets, I would normally use 2 sets of chain where I lock out 40 pounds. You can also use bands. I highly recommend always training with bands or chains, because the accentuation of a barbell, it will not produce maximum strength or speed by itself because of the nature of the strength curve of the human body. You must attach something to it. That something is a chain or a band. All right. Now, even though in the speed workout you didn't see the assistant work, for instance, when I bench, I start at 8:30 in the morning. At 10 till 9, I'm completely done with all my benching. But from 10 till 9 till quarter after, 25 minutes, I work my triceps. I do more tricep work than I do actual benches. Then it's upper back and lat and a lot of external work and maybe some hammer curls, and then I'm finished. Remember, never put a bench shirt on this day. There's no need to handle heavy weights on this day. If you handle heavy weights, it will interfere with the maximum effort day, which occurs 3 days later on Wednesday. All right, and just put the shirt on when you go to the meet. If you have to test yourself out, it's a good idea maybe to use weight releasers where you could only put maybe 300 pounds on the bar. If you're, we'll say, a 500-pound bencher, you want to open up with 450, then put 75 pounds on each side of the weight releaser, lower down 450, let it fly off, then bench up to 300. That will save you a lot of wear and tear, and also make sure how much weight you can get down. All right, now, the maximum effort day is the second day of the week. It occurs on Wednesday. These days never, ever change, ever. 72 hours later, a major muscle group will recover in 72 hours. Always remember that. Now, basically, you can use any exercise you want. You can go from floor press for 2 weeks, and then board press for 2 weeks, and then I recommend doing heavy dumbbells for 3 sets to failure. And when you do this, though, you have to take long rest breaks with the dumbbells, 5-6 minutes, because it's a repetition method and takes a lot of energy. It also takes a long time to recover. And the max effort barbell stuff with the singles, basically 1.5 to 2 minutes is all that's required. But so as you can see, if you did board press for 2 weeks, the 3rd and 4th week would be floor, the 5th and 6th would be dumbbells. Then you could go to steep incline for 7 and 8, and then decline for 9 and 10, and then ultra wide benches to a record set of 6 reps. In other words, if you've done 315 for 6, you have to shoot for 320 for 6. The following week, 325 for 6, then you're back into the singles. When you go back into the singles, it can be anything again. It can be rack lockouts, or you could do floor press with chains. George Halbert's favorite exercise is the 2 favorite exercises. The floor press with chains, where he uses 200-pound of chain on the bar. And when he locks out, and with the amount of weight, he's done 445 plus a 200-pound of chain. And what it really works as is functional isometrics, because once George breaks a record, or even if he doesn't, when he presses the weight up, the chain coming off the floor will naturally lend itself right into his mini-max. That's how we discover where he's weakest at, because of the chain reloading onto the bar. Okay, now remember, never max out on a speed day, because you're always maxing out on Wednesday, the maximum effort day. So you just switch exercises. On both days, also on a max effort day, on both days, work your tris immediately after the core exercise. Then your delt raises, then your upper back and lats, and maybe some hammer curls. The workout should basically take an hour. All right, now we're going to find out if this stuff really works. So I hope you enjoyed the tape, and just check out the following.
Come on, Lou. Let's go. Get out your left. Come on. Come on, man. Shoot time. Come on. One time. Come on, Lou. Come on, Lou. Come on, man. Westside Barbell.
What's the weight, baby?
Come on, Rob.
New world record for the juniors. Get behind it, folks.
Amy Weisberger.
Good hit.
May I see the lights, please? Yes, that's a George Cambered.
Control it, Kenny. Come on, Kenny. Let me, Kenny. Squeeze it. Come on, brother. Squeeze tight, Kenny. Take your time. Come on, Kenny. Time.